love Mike Hanson Archives.
Hello, folks. This is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives. Peace out, baby.
We've mentioned some of your materials. We've also run the video Death and Taxes on our program, and also it's a television program. And it's Jack McLamb, who is a former retired police officer.
Retired police officer, yes.
And you've one of your most, I think probably the book that's gotten the most exposure, Jack, is Operation Vampire Killer 2000. And it's the organization name is Police Against the New World Order. Jack, if you would just give us a little brief story, basically about how you got into this and how you found out, what was going on. Because we were all dumb at one time. We've all had to come into this.
That's right. Yeah, we've all had our moment, and it's interesting to listen and ask each person, how did you find out about what was going on? Well, my day came in 1978. I was giving a talk to a senior citizens group in Sun City, Arizona, right outside of Phoenix, there was an 85, 90-year-old man sitting in the back of the room who looked like he was sleeping, very frail, very, very old gentleman, and I didn't think anything of it, and I was speaking to this group of senior citizens, and when I stopped speaking, about an hour later, I was speaking on crime prevention. They were having trouble with muggings and things as they went around their neighborhood there in the senior citizen area. When I asked for questions and answers, his little bony arm was the first one to go up, and it kind of surprised me because it looked like he was kind of sleeping through the whole thing. And so I asked him what he wanted to ask, and he asked me a few questions, a series of about 4 or 5 questions, and with those 4 or 5 questions, that man turned me on my ear, because what he showed me within that very short time is that this old soldier that was in the military during the Vietnam War that took an oath to defend this country and the Constitution and the people, and took it again when I was a police officer, that I was a violator of my oath. And I was shocked over this. I didn't believe it first anyway. It took me about 30 days to finally become convinced that he was right, because I knew that I would never violate my oath that I took. But what he showed me was I didn't even know what was in my oath, because we went through the government school system that doesn't teach you any longer about what your rights are and so forth. But I learned from that older gentleman that I indeed was a violator of my oath as a matter of policy and procedure on my department, and all officers are. And when I learned that, I had a decision to make, and I had to decide either I would continue to violate my oath or I would stop it and say no to any more what turned out to be immoral activity, orders, or unlawful orders that I was given. And when I made that decision, Jeff, at the time, before I made the decision, I was the most highly decorated officer in the history of Phoenix, Arizona. Still am today. But then I became the most fired officer in the history of Phoenix, Arizona after I made that commitment, that I would refuse to do things any longer that I considered as a Christian man immoral or a violation of my oath. But it took study before I understood what my oath was. Because of course today, the Constitution is treated as old and antiquated and outdated, and they don't teach you that anymore. So it's interesting that the citizens don't know what their rights are. We don't know what their rights are, so it's so easy to give us orders that violate their rights because nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I woke up, and I began to become so depressed as a lawman who was at the top of my career, and then at the very bottom of my career when I started refusing orders that were unlawful many times. And I became the worst officer on the department then. And within the next couple of years, they fired me twice for, number one, refusing certain orders, and then number two, for writing a publication about the Constitution for lawmen and for soldiers. When I started writing that publication, many police officers began to read it in Arizona and other states, and began to turn, just like I did, back to service of the people, and no longer service and protection of the system from the people. And when that happened, I got in all kind of trouble, as they fired me for publishing, actually writing this newsletter. And so, but luckily, a very liberal civil service board put me back to work both times I was fired, because they knew that I had a First Amendment right under the Constitution. The liberals know about the First Amendment because they use it against us all the time, against our nation, to destroy it. But in this particular case, they came to my defense as a conservative. Here, all the liberals came to my defense and put me back to work with full back pay, saying that we don't agree with what he writes about the Constitution, but we agree that he should be able to write it. So that's how I got started.
Where did you first, I mean, this Operation Vampire Killer 2000, you know, this is pretty hardcore stuff.
Hardcore.
Yeah, you know, and that's what I like on this, probably Jeff Davis program. I mean,
Yeah.
we're fans of Warren Cornicky and these kind of
good buddy.
These kind of people.
Yeah.
But so, how did you actually get into the knowledge and the understanding that this? I mean, you're talking about some symptoms when you're talking about violations of rights, but when you get into the bigger scheme of things, international bankers and all of this, you're really hitting the slave master to rule this planet, so to speak. When did you start delving into what's really the enemy of what we're really
Well, it's a process that I think, Jeff, you went through, and everyone in this room, including myself, goes through once you find out something's wrong, and most of us are inquisitive enough to start studying. And I was lucky to be surrounded with people, all in the private sector, none in the government, that shared information with me as fast as I could take it in, as fast as I could absorb it. And I learned about exactly who controls everything and what the plan is. But it was over 17 years that I learned this. So I've been at it quite some time, not as long as many people that've been at it 40, 50 years, but I've been at it about 17, almost 18 years now. And so this is just some of what I learned about the progression of this, actually not a new world order, but very old system of totalitarianism, where a man or a group, an oligarchy in this case, decides that they have a right to rule over everybody else on the face of the earth. So it was just through a progression of study that I learned these things, just like you and everybody else.
How successful have you been? Now, I've actually become aware, like 3 or 4 years back, and I know of people, at least in Central Texas, that actually are handing these things out to the local APD in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
You know, so I imagine that this is probably going on a national basis. Of course, this is a world problem.
That's right.
So I would hope that, you know, any military or something of other nations, you know, personnel would be. But how successful, Jack, have you been with actually getting this information out there?
Our biggest problem, Jeff, has been convincing the public that they're a part of our team. See, as police and soldiers, we work for them. That's not very popular to say nowadays, because the government tells you that's not the case. You're supposed to work for us, you know. But indeed, when we can convince the American people that we are police officers and soldiers that want to serve them once again, but that in order to do this, we need them to join us in helping us reach our police and soldiers, because we've got 1 million copies of this out in this country and other nations to police and soldiers that are now responding to us saying, hey, we didn't know these things were going on, give us more information. But the initial contact has to come from the private sector until we get the law enforcement and military involved. And now we do, and they're handing it out in their military units, and they're handing it out in their police department. But it's taken a team effort on the part of good Americans, both in uniform and outside of uniform, to get these things in the hands of millions of police officers and soldiers now in this land and in other lands. I've been on tour now in Australia and New Zealand, speaking to the police and soldiers there, and it's very interesting to see police, soldiers in these various countries. I may be going to Britain soon. Officers have asked me to come up there and teach them about what they can do now to stop this new world order in their land. You see, so, and everywhere I go, it's fascinating to, and really sad to see these big Aussie soldiers come up to you. I mean, big dudes, and they'll have tears stringing down their cheeks after I speak.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
And they'll give me a big bear hug and lift me up off the ground almost. And they say, McLamb, you tell those Yanks, don't let America's lamp of liberty go out, because we're all finished if you do. And they know that. They know this is the bastion of freedom. And what a heavy responsibility that is for all these other nations to look at us as if we fall, they're gone, because they know they don't have the freedoms we even have now. We've got less freedoms now by a long shot than what we used to, but still we're further ahead, and they know it than they are, you see. So they are just so desperate to be sure America doesn't fall, because all these nations have always looked at us at being the ones that they would want to emulate, and so they could have one day perhaps the same freedoms we do. So we're really pleased to see the awakening, Jeff, and it's because of people like you, brother, that have gone to, and your staff have gone out and taken it upon yourselves to get the message out. And that's all we are doing in law enforcement too, doing everything we can do to get the message out as quick as we can. So
I know that you often tour around with Bo, who I was wanting to get an interview with, but he's a pretty busy man. He's surrounded
he's got a lot of extra difficulties now because of his trial coming up. So his time is really tight, really tight. He's in and out. We were supposed to go to dinner together last night, and he couldn't do it, and that's unusual. But he's so busy right now. We just we're not even having any time to talk to each other.
So you definitely, Jack, do see an awakening. I mean,
yeah.
So this thing is not over with, regardless of what the other side.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. And the critical thing where they don't understand, and most Americans and other people in other land do understand, is that they seem to be in power in all of our governments throughout the world, and I mean the globalists.
Yeah,
you can call them by any name you want to. Yeah. Internationalists, globalists, that's the terms we use, because they can be a mass of different organizations like the Masons and everybody, or political parties, but just we call them internationalists or globalists. But they think they're in control, and they're not. God's in control. See, and that's the element they leave out. Now they think that it's all over for us, and they're very bold today. They think it's all over, but now we're beginning to see them fear a little bit and start to shake, because they realize we've got the tender parts, you might say, the Achilles heel of their whole apparatus is their enforcers. If their soldiers and police join the people again, they're lost.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Because they can't send the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker to take your guns.
Yeah.
It's got to be those people in these uniforms. And we have realized something they didn't, that the people in these uniforms, most of us were raised with a belief in God, and that we answered to a higher calling than the local politician, and so it's easy for us to re-educate our brothers and sisters if we can get to them, and it's working. Well, it's scaring the tar out of the globalists, because we're doing such a fine job with every citizen helping, taking our literature written by police, for police, written for soldiers, by soldiers, for soldiers, and handing it out, and we're their peers, so they listen to us, you see. And it's moving so rapidly that the globalists are really starting to shake, and we can see it as they publish articles about us now in the top military publications saying that stay away from Jack McLamb or Police Against the New World Order or aid and abet, because it's seditious publications, you see. And in the police departments, they're touring the whole United States now, talking about us, saying these are terrorists, these are anti-government people, stay away from them, and you folks too, we're all in the same basket. But they hate what we're doing to reach the minds and the hearts of our brothers and sisters in uniform that we know are good people. We're just brainwashed.
Yeah,
right. And it's working, so it's got them on the run. They feel now that they've got to cause some kind of terrorist activity again, that will bring the people to their knees, frighten us so bad that we will beg them for martial law. And we think that's going to be their tactic. We think we can expect more explosions.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to cut us off at the pass. Anybody that loves the Lord or mentions the Constitution are terrorists by blowing up a few more things, causing the racial wars that they're working on very hard right now, and to get the racial wars going. And they hope the majority of the American people, this will scare so bad that we will beg the government for martial law, rescind our Constitution, and just make us safe. So So that's going to be their plan. So whoever we get on our side in the months ahead is all we're going to have on our side, because these frightening things we believe are going to occur as they try to stop us from being any more successful than we are. So we need to work hard during the months we have. And that's why I appreciate you, Jeff, and what you're doing, and all of the people here to make this thing work as fast as we can before they do their little tricks. And I believe it may be successful. The American people may be so scared, the majority of them, that they will acquiesce to totalitarianism just to be safe from who they think are the terrorists out there, when it's really the terrorists in our own government.
Right. These guys are some real connivers.
Oh, they're horrible.
Just a quick. Do you believe that Gordon Call was murdered? I mean, I don't want to, just quickly. Do you? I saw that video, and your final statement was the federal agents murdered.
Then you know, because we've proven that probably Jim Hall, the U.S. Marshal Jim Hall, it looks like, walked up behind him, and this is the way we think it's happened. It's alleged, you might say. But we do know this happened. One of those agents, a federal agent, came up behind Gordon as he was watching television, put probably a .38, it looks like by the hole, to the back of his head, right over his left ear, shot him from the back to the front of the head, and he died on the floor. Our dear Sheriff Gene Matthews came in right behind that, saw what they had done, and raised Cain, because Sheriff Gene Matthews was a good sheriff in Lawrence County. And we suspect, because of what came out over the radio, the police radios right after that, that he said no to the cover-up. And he ended up with at least 2 bullet holes in him with 2 different guns, and probably a third. We haven't exhumed his body yet. But that's what has happened in that home. And so both of these people were executed by federal U.S. Marshals and FBI agents. And then they torched the house and tried to torch Gordon Call's body. They poured accelerants on his body, torched the body. We've already exhumed his body and did a second autopsy on it. I took it personally to Dr. Thomas Noguchi in Los Angeles, pathologist of the stars, that did the autopsy on John Belushi and Elvis Presley, and a very honest pathologist that was fired because of his honesty from Los Angeles County coroner. They fired him because he kept telling the truth on everything. So they got him out of there, and that's who we used, and he's willing to take the stand now and testify to what they did to Gordon Call's body. So it's going to be exciting if we can get into court. But all the levels of government are refusing to let us get to the grand jury. You see, so they're fighting hard to be sure this execution doesn't come out, because so many people are involved in the cover-up, including President Bill Clinton.
Yeah. I noticed that video. Well, Jack McLamb, I want to give you a couple moments or so to make a final statement. If you have a number or something you'd like to mention for the viewers of the Jeff Davis Show, I do appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff. Likewise, brother. Appreciate you very much.
And if you got a closing statement or something?
Yes. I just want to ask, or tell the American people that they should truly be of good cheer. There's a lot of negative things they see every day happening around them. But what they're not being told by the controlled media, but they are by you, people like you, that a lot of good things are happening. You know, we're succeeding at this thing. And the more people that will help us now to succeed, and we suggest that we keep reaching our police and soldiers in your community as fast as we can, because your safety is directly related to how many of our police and soldiers in your community we get back on the side of the people. And it's working. We got a plan that's working. We just need to work the plan. And so pray every day, pray a number of times a day that God continues to bless us with success in these educational endeavors. And I say this, Jeff, because we never again want to see in this country where brother against brother is spilling the blood of our fellow Americans on the streets of America. And we must pray that God gives us that victory, that we can turn this around non-violently, and we do not have to see, once again, a civil-type war in this country. So I think we ask, of course, that it be God's will, and then we go and remember that duty is ours and consequences is God's. In other words, we just do what we should be doing and let God sort it out.
have a organization. It's only here in Gonzales. Somebody's trying to get by. Go back a little bit. We have an organization here, a nonprofit organization. It's Gonzales Association of Patriots. But every month we do something really good for some lucky person or people. And when we had the hurricane down there, boy, did we, that was a lot of money. We usually don't go out of Gonzales, but that was a little bit, to see those people in the trailer parks and stuff really hurting and stuff, we went down there and helped them.
Okay.
And but we're going to help a real nice elderly lady. She barely makes her bills, Peggy. So I know she's going to be appreciative of the $100 that we're going to give her. And so let's go over and surprise her. We've already mowed her yard, so she'll probably tell you thank you about that. But then we're going to surprise her.
Okay, great.
Here's what you're getting this month.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right there. It's awarded by, because I know you need help with your food and everything else. So that's from the Gonzales Association of Patriots. We always try to do something good for somebody every single month. We try to.
I love you, Mike.
Great.
I love everybody. Thank you.
There you go.
Everybody.
Buy what you want with it. Buy you something nice once in a while.
I love you, Mike.
Yeah.
God bless you.
You know, people donate money to us, and that's how we get this money.
Thank you.
So if anybody, wants to know more about our organization, we're here in Gonzales, Texas at P.O. Box 481.
Thank y'all very much, and God bless everybody that helps people around that are in need. God bless y'all.
Okay, we'll see you next time,
Que
Peggy.
pase buen día, señora.
Gracias.
Why are you touching him? Stop it. Initiating force. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. See? Go fuck yourself. What's that for?
Free speech.
That's free speech.
Free speech. Violating free speech. Really though, dude? Really? Free speech violation. You wanted us to leave down here in your airway. I am not on your property. What are you arresting him for? Under what charges? Disorderly conduct, he's leaving. He wasn't doing anything. You initiated for it. He said a word to you. You're just a coward! You're such a coward! 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 Criminal!
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. See? Go fuck yourself. What's that for?
Free speech.
That's free speech.
Free speech? Violating free speech. Really though, dude? Really? Free speech violation. You wanted us to leave, now you're in your airline. I am not on your property. What are you arresting him for? Under what charges? Disorderly conduct, he was leaving. He wasn't doing anything. You initiated for it. He said a word to you. You're such a coward! You're such a coward! 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 Criminal! Not even a police car!
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. See? Go fuck yourself.
Have a nice day.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. See? Go fuck yourself. What's that for?
Free speech.
That's free speech.
Free speech? Violating free speech. Really though, dude? Really? Free speech violation. You wanted us to leave, now you're in your airline. I am not on your property.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
See?
Go fuck yourself.
Corporal Hippolito tells KITV while the video shows inconsistencies to Beeler's story, he admitted he could not see Beeler spitting on the officer. Corporal Hippolito tells KITV while the video shows inconsistencies to Beeler's story, he admitted he could not see Beeler spitting on the officer.
It just doesn't make sense. Was it retaliatory? I don't know that.
The police department is not going to file charges just because.
Nearly 2 weeks after cell phone video captures an arrest in downtown Austin, APD slaps 2 additional charges on a woman who claims they assaulted her on New Year's Eve. It is a story that has Austinites talking, even at today's Public Safety Commission meeting.
People are questioning whether police are going too far to keep the peace. This all happened at 10th Lamar early on New Year's Day. KITV's Lisa Lee Kelly has been following this case since it first came to light through one of your news tips. She joins us live in our newsroom with developments. Lisa?
Ron and Judy, while both of these new charges against this female passenger are also misdemeanors, it still means a new warrant is out for her arrest and, if convicted, more jail time.
But this is unusual, and I have been doing this for well over 10 years, and this is shocking to me.
Attorney Mindy Montford expresses outrage at Austin police for filing 2 additional charges against her client, Norma, for resisting arrest and disobeying a police officer. Norma was a passenger in a sedan on New Year's Eve, pulled over for drunk driving by officers Pat Oborski and Robert Snyder near 10th and Lamar. When Norma yelled to her friend not to submit to the sobriety test, she was arrested for interfering, but charged with public intoxication. Police wrote in the original affidavit that she was a danger to herself.
Norma was sitting safely and securely as a passenger in a vehicle, belted in. They removed her from that car. They pulled her out of the car. So if anybody placed my client in danger, it was APD.
Last week, Norma spoke to KITV, asking that we not show her face.
Yelling out of the car, my friend, her rights is not interfering. It's telling her rights. And sitting in the passenger seat, never opening the car door, never doing anything. I'm not harming myself, and I'm not harming others.
Antonio Beeler is a West Point graduate and Iraqi war veteran. He witnessed the arrest and began taking pictures, yelling at the officers that they were using excessive force. Other cell phone video shows the officers then arresting Beeler, charged with felony harassment of a public servant for spitting on the officer, which Beeler denies.
These 2 cops in particular were extremely aggressive. You know, almost like they had a point to prove.
Beeler's plight has garnered much attention, including a Facebook page called Free Antonio Beeler, already with almost 1,700 members.
These are legitimate charges.
Even though these new, much more detailed charges against Norma come nearly 2 weeks after the incident, APD denies it's being retaliatory for the negative publicity from this case.
The Austin Police Department will not just make up charges for the sake of making them up, just to get revenge on somebody for speaking out against our department. That does not happen, and I can assure you the Chief of Police will not let that happen.
Now, Norma will turn herself into APD on these new charges tomorrow. She is planning to file a formal complaint with the Office of Police Monitoring on Monday and is looking into a civil suit against the city of Austin. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Lisa Lee Kelly, KITV News.
APD is still refusing to release the video from the patrol unit's dash cameras. Corporal Hippolito tells KITV while the video shows inconsistencies to Beeler's story, he admitted he could not see Beeler's spitting.
New Year's Day arrest for resisting police and harassing a public servant is preparing for a trial. Antonio Beeler has hired a new lawyer as well. KVU's Jessica Vest is live at the Travis County Justice Complex. Jessica?
Hi, Melissa. You know, Antonio Beeler did not show up here today for his first pretrial appearance, but his lawyer did, and he let his lawyer do the talking for him. Right outside the County Court 3, Antonio Beeler's name flashed up on the digital dockets this morning. His new attorney, Joe James Sawyer, came up to represent him, walking quickly past our cameras and immediately into the courtroom. Our cameras weren't allowed in once the lawyers arrived, but Sawyer did reset the date. He then ducked out a back door, avoiding our cameras and an interview. This is why Beeler is in court. Take a look at some video posted on YouTube. A bystander taped his arrest New Year's Day. In the video, you can see Beeler confronting an APD officer. That officer actually approached Beeler after he noticed Beeler taking photos of the officer arresting another woman during a traffic stop. The officer pulls Beeler to the ground. APD says he resisted arrest and spit in the officer's face during that confrontation. Beeler has been actively fighting his charges. He recently participated in a protest at the Justice Complex. Beeler says he wants all charges against him dropped. His court appearance this morning was only for that resisting arrest charge. It has now been reset for March 6th, but he is expected back here at the Justice Complex February 23rd for that harassing a public servant charge. Melissa, Brian.
Jessica, Joe James Sawyer, the man representing Beeler, he has been involved with some very high-profile cases over the past couple of years. So what do you think this means?
Yeah, Melissa, exactly. Actually, the court was unaware of that change in his lawyer until this morning when Joe James Sawyer came up. Antonio Beeler had hired another lawyer, but he changed it recently to Joe James Sawyer, who some people may recognize his name. He's actually represented Laura Hull in the murder of Jennifer Cave on the UT campus. He has also represented some of the defendants in the yogurt shop murders.
Jessica Vest, thank you so much for the report.
Beeler was taking pictures of an APD DWI stop involving 28-year-old Norma from San Antonio, an arrest where, according to Beeler, officers Patrick Oborski and Robert Snyder crossed the line when they lifted her up by her arms that were handcuffed and behind her back. During our interview last week, when she asked her face not be shown, Norma says the police did indeed cross the line.
Definitely, it was the worst night of my life. I have never been treated so abusive by a police officer.
But it's not just those who were arrested who are coming forward.
I'm just not one to sit and allow something to be based on an untruth.
Carlos Amador was walking out of the convenience store when he witnessed what was happening to Norma and Beeler. Amador says he was appalled to learn that Officer Oborski had accused Beeler of being the aggressor and spitting in the officer's face.
My field of vision was as direct to the event as I am to you now. And I would testify in a court of law at any level that at no point did Antonio spit at the officer or make any sort of aggressive or inciting gesture toward.
I just think it would be good. Hold on. Sorry. It's like two of us. Wait for me, Antonio.
Yeah, sorry about that, Antonio.
Don't forget the alternative media.
All right.
All right, what are you thinking right now?
I'm just wondering why the Austin Police Department and the city prosecutors are so eager to see this not go to a jury. What are they afraid of? We've had nearly, 10 witnesses over the course of 3 days. We've had never seen before footage from the dash cams come out. We've had cell phone video, 7-11 surveillance video. We've had the officer cross the thin blue line to speak out about the crimes of 2 police officers. And perhaps the reason why they're balking is because their star witness basically affirmed that Officer Oborski and Officer Snyder committed crimes that night, and it wasn't me or Norma that committed any crimes.
So you feel like this has gone in your favor pretty much to this point. So how frustrating is this for you to be delayed until Wednesday now?
Well, this is the 4th day of a Class C misdemeanor trial. I don't know that Austin has ever had a 2-day Class C misdemeanor trial, much less 4 days. It's pretty obvious that the Austin Police Department is pretty scared about seeing justice served here. They're trying to intimidate people. They're trying to scare people. Their bully tactics have been going on for about 3 years. And we just want to see it come to an end.
This is important to you because it's more than just, okay, this is a Class C misdemeanor, so it's the lowest criminal you could face, but it's more of a point, you're an activist, you're a community advocate.
Well, I wasn't an activist before I was arrested. I was just a guy who was filling up gas on the side of the road. And I saw a woman being assaulted, and I decided to ask questions and take pictures, and for that I was attacked. 2 people were victimized that night. 2 people were wrongly arrested. 2 people were put through the criminal justice system. The real criminals that night had the full backing of the Austin Police Department and the city prosecutors. And there's just an intense level of injustice going on in Austin. And I want to see it righted. And it's pretty obvious from the actions of the city prosecutors and the Austin Police Department that they don't want to see justice served.
So what from here? Just push forward. Go with it.
See you guys Wednesday.
What are they afraid of?
It was supposed to be his last day in court, but Antonio Beeler walked out of the courtroom Monday without a verdict.
It's pretty obvious that the Austin Police Department is pretty scared about seeing justice served here. They're trying to intimidate people, they're trying to scare people. Their bully tactics have been going on for about 3 years, and we just want to see it come to an end.
Beeler's case captured the attention of many Austinites who've been following it since his arrest New Year's Day 2012 for taking pictures of police officers arresting a woman. He was charged with a misdemeanor for failing to obey a lawful order.
It amazes me that Austin, the city of Austin, has put so much time and effort into what is essentially, the lowest criminal charge that you can be charged with here in Austin.
It's day 3 of the trial, and people were hoping to walk out of these doors with a decision, but that wasn't the case.
The juror saying he wanted to be dismissed because he doesn't feel he could reach a verdict out of fear for his safety.
Neither the police nor the case prosecutor would speak on camera, but the city wants the judge to declare a mistrial. Beeler's attorney thinks things should proceed with the remaining 5 jurors. The judge will make his decision Wednesday morning.
It's a little bit disheartening. I was really expecting that today would be our day of justice.
Supporters say they've waited long enough.
I just think it needs to be put to a stop, and we need to let the jury finally decide whether or not he's guilty.
In downtown Austin, Victoria Moranen, Time Warner Cable News.
What are they afraid of?
It was supposed to be his last day in court, but until
Witnesses continue to come forward after a New Year's arrest in Austin. Tonight, why they believe the arresting officer overreacted and a look at whether the officer had any prior complaints. The Night Beat's Jim Bergamo, who first brought you this story last week, is live now at APD headquarters. Jim?
Terry, one of those arrested that night, Antonio Beeler, says he has filed a formal complaint with APD's Internal Affairs Department, and he's also spoken with someone from the police monitor's office. Now, Beeler's version of events continues to be bolstered by witnesses who corroborate his side of the story. This video and subsequent KVUE stories about Austin police taking down and arresting 34-year-old Antonio Beeler just hours into the new year have generated more than 65,000 views on YouTube alone. Beeler was taking pictures of an APD DWI stop involving 28-year-old Norma from San Antonio, an arrest where, according to Beeler, officers Patrick Oborski and Robert Snyder crossed the line when they lifted her up by her arms that were handcuffed and behind her back. During our interview last week, when she asked her face not be shown, Norma says the police did indeed cross the line.
Definitely, it was the worst night of my life. I have never been treated so abusive by a police officer.
But it's not just those who were arrested who are coming forward.
I'm just not one to sit and allow something to be based on an untruth.
Carlos Amador was walking out of the convenience store when he witnessed what was happening to Norma and Beeler. Amador says he was appalled to learn that Officer Oborski had accused Beeler of being the aggressor and spitting in the officer's face.
My field of vision was as direct to the event as I am to you now. And I would testify in a court of law at any level that at no point did Antonio spit at the officer or make any sort of aggressive or inciting gesture toward him.
KVUE filed a Freedom of Information Act request for any previous complaints of abuse against officers Oborski and Snyder. APD says only complaints that were sustained by its Internal Affairs Department are public record, and those complaints will be found in each officer's civil service reports. But the 87 pages turned over to us only contain letters of recommendation and performance reviews. but no complaints.
I'm expecting.
Much like Norma was thankful for Beeler taking photos of her arrest, Beeler says he's thankful other witnesses have come forward to corroborate his version of events.
Sometimes the police, come to the public and they ask the public to step forward if they know something. Well, sometimes, if there's a bad cop out there, sometimes the public needs to step forward to say something about the cop as well.
Now, Beeler, a West Point graduate and Iraqi war veteran, says his main concern is getting the charges of felony harassment of a public official and resisting arrest dropped. Norma, a passenger in the car she was riding in, is fighting the public intoxication charges she's facing. Reporting live at APD headquarters in downtown Austin, Jim Bergamo, KVUE News Night Beat.
All right, Jim, thank you.
The cop was very aggressive, and he should have never treated anybody the way that he treated us.
It's the story everyone is talking about, and tonight we answer your questions about an alleged case of police brutality. All week we've been reporting on the DWI stop, the woman seen being dragged out of her car, and the man who took pictures of it all, who was arrested himself.
Now, this all happened early on New Year's Day at West 10th and Lamar downtown. Tonight, KITV's Lisa Lee Kelly goes in depth. She is live downtown after talking with a criminal defense attorney about the rights of citizens and police. Lisa?
Well, Judy and Ron, in the state of Texas, the criminal charge of public intoxication is a Class C misdemeanor. It's on par with a traffic ticket. But getting arrested for PI means a trip downtown, a mugshot, jail clothes, the works. And police here are given a very wide parameter in doling it out.
Why are you touching me? This cell phone video shows Austin police taking down 34-year-old Antonio Beeler early New Year's Day. Police approached him after he began taking these pictures of two women being arrested. Police had pulled the female driver over for DWI and then also arrested her passenger, who asked that we not show her face.
Yelling out of the car, my friend, her rights is not interfering. It's telling her rights. And sitting in the passenger seat, never opening the car door, never doing anything. I'm not harming myself, and I'm not harming others.
Beeler was pumping gas at the 7-Eleven at 10th and Lamar when it all went down. When he started taking pictures and yelling at police to stop assaulting the women, they arrested him too, accusing this West Point grad of spitting on the officer, which he denies. Criminal defense attorney Perry Minton says good cops are experts at diffusing a situation, not making it worse.
Was there a better way to approach that woman and say, I understand that you want to give your friend legal advice, and I want to provide you an opportunity to do that, but I'm in the middle of an investigation. And I know the officer here, Pataborski, could have easily done that.
Officer Pataborski charged the female passenger with public intoxication, never asking if she'd been drinking. She's now retained attorney Mindy Montford to fight her case. It's a case Montford knows all too well. She was arrested herself for public intoxication after giving legal advice during a traffic stop to her driver. Same scenario, and her charges were eventually dismissed.
I just wanted to talk to her. I needed to talk to somebody that went what I went through.
But do police have the legal right to arrest a passenger in a car for public intoxication? Perry says absolutely.
If she is in a vehicle out on a public roadway, she's in a public place, and if she's intoxicated, then of course she can be charged with public intoxication.
Now, it should be mentioned that neither Beeler nor the female passenger were ever charged with interfering with an investigation. Beeler has filed a formal complaint with the city. Police Chief Art Acevedo last night told me that he has seen the dash cam video from the patrol units from that night, and even though he won't release it to us, he stands by the actions of his officers. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Lisa Lee Kelly, KITV News.
Thank you, Lisa. On our Facebook page, we have been having a very lively discussion about what police define as intoxicated in public. You can read those comments and join in the conversation at facebook.com/KITV. Be sure to like it.
APD is still refusing to release the video from the patrol unit's dash cameras. Corporal Hippolito tells KITV while the video shows inconsistencies to Beeler's story, he admitted he could not see Beeler spitting. He could not see Beeler spitting. He could not see Beeler spitting.
But it's not just those who were arrested who are coming forward.
I'm just not one to sit and allow something to be based on an untruth.
Carlos Amador was walking out of the convenience store when he witnessed what was happening to Norma and Beeler. Amador says he was appalled to learn that Officer Oborski had accused Beeler of being the aggressor and spitting in the officer's face.
My field of vision was as direct to the event as I am to you now. And I would testify in a court of law at any level that at no point did Antonio spit at the officer or make any sort of aggressive or inciting gesture toward him.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy. Mike Hanson Archives.
To support this channel, I just got a new box of books in, and I will send you a signed copy if you want to write us here at P.O. Box 481, Gonzales, Texas 78629. Send $25 and we will send you. You don't have to send any shipping, just send $25 and we'll use it to put more VHS tapes up. Look at that. Good Alex right there. Okay, and then also if you want to call, there's the box of books. If you want to call, I don't hear no phones ringing in there yet. If you want to call here, we got people answering the phones here. I don't hear no phones ringing yet. If you want to call us, our phone number is 830-672-3089. I got that right this time, didn't I? Okay, and look, there's the phones ringing. Okay, and then we got people over here working hard on putting tapes up tonight, right? Okay.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy.
Mike Hanson Archives.